Once upon a time, in the magical world of Japan, there was a plucky little game developer named Hideo Kojima, who made a little action game called Metal Gear, that had a relatively stock action movie plot about a knockoff of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York with the phallic undertones of their name made considerably less subtle, fighting an evil, culturally ambiguous terrorist group. A game so generic it flat out used painted over stills from 80s action movies for the key art, and when it came time to name the big boss villain of the game, little Hideo Kojima thought, well, no need to put too much thought into it, let's just call him Big Boss, because that's what he is. I mean, it's not like this is going to turn into the franchise that defines my entire fucking career. 17 years and multiple anomalously successful sequels later, a wiser, less impulsive 2004 Hideo Kojima suddenly decided it's important to make an elaborate prequel set in the Cold War, with the main purpose of explaining why the dude was called Big Boss, and why it's actually very sensible that he was called that, and there's a heart-wrenching story attached, so don't you feel bad for taking the piss. Hideo, most people would have just retconned it. No retcons! Everything is canon forever! Even that really stupid owl puzzle in Metal Gear 2. Right you are, Kojima. You mad bastard. And now here in 2025, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta, a ground-up remaster of the original Metal Gear Solid 3, which Hideo himself technically isn't involved in, but it follows the strict definition of remaster in that it's pretty much just a layering of HD graphics on top of the original, so we can quite justifiably give Hideo Kojima another nostalgic kick in his mad bollocks for it. Straight remaster is probably the best way Konami could have played it, frankly, as it's been made perfectly clear over and over again that nobody who currently works there knows what the fuck they're doing. Actually, I gather there have been some core gameplay improvements, and knowing that frankly boggles my mind as I wonder how god-awful they must have been the first time around if this constitutes improved. I never played the original MGS3, surprisingly, considering I played the shit out of 1, 2, and 4. I guess my feeling was that if the game could offer no material for use in my Otacon Mpreg fanfiction empire, I just didn't want to know. I know what happens in MGS3, having watched video playthroughs, with my brow permanently creased in the typical Kojima frown of aroused bafflement, and occasionally pausing to run to the toilet due to the subconscious influence of the graphics' omnipresent cloudy piss filter. The protagonist is Snake of the non-solid variety, grizzled gun-liking action man who is the fully grown adopted bitch boy of someone called The Boss, as in that isn't a nickname, that's their official title, presumably to differentiate her from Bruce Springsteen. We're reliably informed that The Boss is the greatest soldier in the history of ever, but in real terms she's essentially the archetypal Hideo Kojima character, a beautiful female victim of various forms of horrifying abuse, who at one point gets her tits out for no particular reason, and who communicates exclusively in verbose, broadly philosophical lectures. Hey, The Boss, do you want a cup of tea? What need has a soldier of tea? To a soldier, all that matters is the mission. Custard creams have no place on the battlefield. I didn't even bring up the custard creams, you mad bint. Oh, and she was probably a child soldier, because who the fuck wasn't in this series? I guess Otacon wasn't, but not for want of trying. Am I right, lore experts? Anyway, the boss defects to the Soviet Union and teams up with a dude fomenting a coup against the Russian premier, but who is also, unrelatedly, a giant bulletproof electric man. Just roll with it, alright? And Snake is sent in alone to foil their schemes and assassinate him and the boss by going all third-person stealth action on their inexplicably superpowered tits. So as I hinted earlier, the basic gameplay of Metal Gear Solid controls like two greasy dog penises. Snake runs like he's trying to catch a bus that hasn't started moving yet and he doesn't particularly want to catch. If he gets knocked down, he goes into prone state and has to press the crouch button twice to get back up and start hitting things again, but if he presses it for too many nanoseconds, he plops right back down into prone again, like he's decided he hasn't quite given up looking for his contact lens. When you grab a dude, the merest touch or release of a button or stick is the difference between letting him go, slitting his throat, or pitching him headfirst into a curb. All the same, I do get a pleasing sense of nostalgia, playing a combat system from back before such things were so tiresomely standardized. So yeah, I get the sense Hideo felt the series was in a bit of a rut after MGS2, top-down, soliton radar, boss fights with weirdos, lots of banging on about nanomachines, and took the opportunity of a prequel to experiment a bit. As such, MGS3 is a game of ideas, some of which are good, iconic even, like the camouflage system, or the prolonged sniping duel against the end, in the middle of the game, counterintuitively. And then there are the other ideas, like the healing system, a classic example of trying to add realism to the eternally ridiculous concept of eating a box of health to regrow all your lost limbs, and ending up with a clunky set of hoops to jump through, like we're stuck in our local hospital's automated answering service. Being a game of ideas, MGS3 is full of memorable moments, but it doesn't string together well into a cohesive whole. In contrast to 1 and 2, that took place in single large facilities, encouraging you to get a sense for your environment, 3 is more a linear sequence of small encounters, dipping its toes into one new gameplay mechanic after another, a rail shooting segment here, an escort quest there, but rarely makes the most of anything. And as for the story, Jesus H. Christina Aguilera, trying to take that as a cohesive whole is like trying to train 2 dolphins to gather together a load of bars of wet soap. The cutscenes are full of bizarre interactions and conversations that go nowhere, between characters who we are always told are world-class experts in their fields, but whose actions provide very little evidence for that, like the lady who's ostensibly a master seductress whose main go-to strategy is to unzip her top down to her pubes and jiggle about a bit. And of course there's plenty of Hideo's trademark glaring tonal shifts. I'm thinking of the bit where giant bulletproof electric man is torturing Snake in an actually genuinely upsetting way, and suddenly goes, "You'll never find out that my secret treasure is downstairs in room B7 in a safe, locked with the combination 9974, so stop thinking you will." at which point one can only laugh. Yes, thank you, Yards. Consider our nostalgic memories thoroughly urinated on. But if we could get back to the subject of what the remake adds to the original, bugger all, really. As I say, it's more or less a straight remaster copy-paste situation, so what you're getting is no piss filter, the wonderful opportunity to pay full price for it again, and all the characters can make more realistic facial expressions, for whatever good that does them. Let's face it, a Hideo Kojima character with a full range of emotion is like a dog at the controls of a riding lawnmower. Hilarious, yes, but it'll upset whoever maintains the flower beds. Hello, me again. Don't worry, I'm not going to nag you this time. I just wanted to shout out everyone who joined our Patreon after I put out that video explaining that we're being fucked over by the YouTube algorithm. We had a massive spike in signups, and it really is quite humbling to know how many of you out there have our backs. I can now return to swearing at video games, comfortable in the assurance that it still means something to you guys. And if you haven't joined the Patreon, you're still cool too. Just remember to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, I lied, I was going to nag you a little bit.